One of the most important questions and decisions a trading card game company has is what should my print runs be? How many booster boxes, how many cards, how many products should I release out there into the market if I have a collectible trading card game, right? How many should be printed? And I think that Legend Story Studios, James White and team have answered this question way better than any other trading card game company out there on the market today or anyone. And I really want to discuss it because I think it's really not talked about or really misunderstood out there. So I really think it's important to really elaborate on this. I think it's very genius on how they've answered this question and what they've decided to do as a company. So to go on over the first question of this whole matter is what should my print runs be? Why is that such an important question, Bronson? I'd say everyone out there in the YouTube space can put print run in their YouTube video and get like 200 extra views because everyone cares about the print run. It doesn't really that matter that much. It really does. It really does. And if you think about it first and foremost, I will admit that creating a good product as a company comes first and foremost. You have to create, hopefully, a really good game, a gameplay experience that people are going to want to buy. So that's first and foremost. You could have a print run of 10 booster boxes. If your game is dog shit, no one's going to want to buy it. No one's going to want to play it. You have to have a good gameplay, hopefully, and then you have to have collectability. You have to have, design and aesthetics and a good product, something someone wants to collect and buy and play with. It has to be a good product no matter why anyone is buying the cards. It has to be a desired. There has to be demand. With economics, there's supply and demand. So demand is probably the most important thing that as a company you really need to figure out. I think Legend Story Studios has done that. But talking about the print run is very important for two aspects. You have the print too much and then print too little. If you print too little, you're going to have a lot of players out there like, hey, I want to play the game, but I can't. It's too expensive. People aren't going to be able to play your game as much. That's true. And then also on the other spectrum, though, if you swing the pendulum in the other direction to print too much, all the people along the process who are selling your product are going to get shafted and they're going to lose money and they're not going to want to sell your product anymore because there's no money in it for them, right? So you can't get product in people's hands to play the game. Even if you have a amazing game or amazing product, right? If you print too much, you're not going to be able to get it into people's hands because the stores and everyone in the market, isn't going to want it as much. It's going to be harder to, get product in the hands. Whereas if you, print too little, people aren't going to play it as much. It's going to be really easy to get it into their hands when you're, selling them like hotcakes, but you're going to eventually run out if you have too little, and you're not going to have, there's going to be a large portion of people who aren't able to play your game due to, the price of cards. So the age-old question is, okay, what should your print runs be? How do you not print too low? And how do you not print too high? Where is the middle ground? How do you find this whole middle ground of, printing for what your market needs, especially in this day and age where even if you print for how much your market is, like let's go over the first one. And a lot of people say, hey, as a company, you should know what your market is. You should know how many people want your product. Like, that's the first school of thought that I want to discuss. And I want to get into like schools of thought. I hear this on the internet and comments and everything. Oh, that trading card game company should have known how many boxes their market wanted. They intentionally short printed because they wanted to raise their price on their booster box. They wanted to create FOMO and everything. A lot of the times that's not true. A lot of times companies just print a smaller run because like they don't have that much market hype at the beginning. But because the industry is how they are, you can have actors out there who are manipulating the market by putting $50,000, and $50,000 can swing a booster box drastically, out there in the market. So, and not only that, you're thinking about all these other moves on the chessboard. If you talk about creating a product out there, right? And you have to take into consider inflation, consumer spend over the next 3 years, what the industry is going to do over that time. It is an impossible calculation. That's where I'm going on with this whole aspect, right? If the whole sentiment of companies should just know is just completely false. There's way too many factors. There's nobody who can predict how many booster boxes you should make at a given period of time. And if you were that person, you should do consulting services for these people. I highly doubt that anyone out there is well informed enough to add in all these 30 factors out there for a trading card game and say, this is how many booster boxes should be printed, 150,000, take it. That's the amount based on 30 factors. There's no way, right? So I wanted to dispel that first and foremost, is that saying, hey, companies should know, no. It's impossible to calculate depending on various different factors. The second biggest thing I hear out there and what I've seen is people say, hey, do an initial print, right? If you're printing a game of 25,000 boxes, see how the market likes it, and then after 6 months, print another 25,000 boxes if you need it. If you don't, then don't do that, right? And that's a very logical answer of, okay, print a smaller wave at first, see how the market takes to it, and then print more if needed. The biggest problem with this is that the people who say this, I feel like, don't understand at all how printing works for trading card games. Okay? So first and foremost, it takes a fuckload of time to create booster boxes from Cardamundi or whatever and ship them out to wherever you are. It takes about 5-6 months, I think, and I think I'm being a little liberal there. It's around that time frame. Another thing is that printing in smaller volumes incurs a higher cost. The setup cost for plate printing is quite a good amount. They have to set up all the plates. They have 3 or 4 plates, right? Red, yellow, and blue, I believe, or whatever have you. And it prints the ink. So setting up all those plates in the manufacturing company, it takes a long time to set that up. Once you have the whole machine, once you have the whole conveyor belt to make a set, you're printing stuff like hotcakes. You're just slamming that shit out. But it takes a good amount of time to set that up, and that incurs cost on your end. Not only that, if you're only printing a 25,000 booster box run, you're going to incur a higher cost per box than if you're printing for 100,000 or 150,000. You're incurring higher cost per product, which is lowering your income per product because you have to pay more per. Not only that, but you have to wait. So let's say you did do this, right? You printed your product, you sent out the first wave, the people are clamoring for more product. And you're like, okay, I'll print more. You print more. The Cardamundi say, hey, it's going to be 6 to 7 months. We're going to ship your stuff on a slow boat, and you're going to get it, in half a year, right? And then you wait that time, half a year goes by, and then all the hype has died out of your game. Or a lot of hype and demand, and then you flood the market there, and then people say, hey, what, you overprinted, what are you doing here? So you have these situations where when you do that whole thing where you print initial wave, print the second wave, you're incurring high cost for lower economies of scale. You have to wait 6 to 7 months, 5 months, whatever have you, to actually get your product printed. And honestly, it could be even more than that, because if you think about it, you're going to be pretty far lower in the queue compared to Pokemon or whatever if you're doing a big printer. I guess if you're doing it through some rando, another printer that's not as prestigious, if I can say, then it might be easier. But you have that, and then you have the plate costs. You have to get these plates created. You have to then, they have to set them up in the warehouse. That also incurs costs on your end. So there's a lot of cost and time associated with that. So that method, in my opinion, is just very inefficient. It's not a very efficient method for producing, solving the question that we have of how many boxes should be printed. Now, let me go into what Legend Story Studios, in my opinion, from what I've seen, how they have answered this question. Again, I think it's pure brilliance on what they have decided to do when deciding how many boxes should we print for a set. Now, the whole method is as follows, right? You first print over your market, right? You print more than what you think your market could need, where you think you're going in the next 2-3 years. You look at, different growths of organized play and different events and such, and see where your market's going. And I think Legend Story Studios takes that, like different organized play event data and different other like sell-through rates and everything like that, and maybe regional data. They take the data, they look at it, and they decide okay, in 2 years, what is my market going to be like? What booster boxes? And I think it's very optimistic, right? It's larger than what their current market is. So they first find that, and they print more than what they think their current market is. But then they're very smart. Once the boxes are printed, and they print in a big wave, which is economies of scale, which lowers the box prices per, because you only have to print it once, and you basically lower the shipping rate. When you ship it overseas, you only have to incur that cost one time. There's a lot of cost savings with printing a much larger print, and the printing company is probably going to like you a lot more by shelling out more. You're going to be a more highly valued customer. There's so many benefits. But they ship Legend Story Studios, and Legend Story Studios has 5 warehouses, from what we know, apparently, from the Flukenbach's interview with James White 6 months ago or so. Really great interview. I really enjoy Flukenbach's content. But so the second step is, once it's printed, it's sent out to the warehouses. From the warehouses of Legend Story Studios, then it's sent out to distro, right? And it's trickled in. So maybe they have a whole print run, right, of, let's say, 300,000 booster boxes, right? Only 100,000 boxes get sent out at release, right? Just sent out, and these are just totally made up numbers. Honestly, I don't have any source for this. This is just me making up numbers. But we know that this exists, where they trickle it in. I call it a trickle in. So they trickle in 100,000 all around, right? And then once it dries up, they trickle in a little bit more, like maybe 20,000 more boxes, and then another 20,000 in a couple more months. They trickle in supply into the market when it's needed. They don't overload and give distro 300,000 boxes. And the reason for that is because if distro comes on hard times or just wants to liquidate, they can just liquidate way too much product and crater the prices. So LSS holds it in the distribution warehouses that they have, or in the warehouses they have, temporarily, like maybe, I think at least probably like 60% of the supply or 70% of the supply at release. And then most likely every quarter they evaluate, hey, how many boxes should we give out to distro if, looking at the market, does the market need it? And then they siphon it off like that. So that's the second step, is the trickle in. So first you have the overprinting based off of market analytics. Then you have the second step, which is you trickle it in. You have your warehouses, you trickle it into distro and stores and what have you. The third step is you wait 2 to 3 years. And after that 2 to 3 year time period, you assess the market. You say, hey, does the market legitimately need the stock that we have in our warehouses? And if not, you destroy the boxes. And again, from the Flukenbach's interview 6 months ago, I'll put a link down below. This is what was stated with Everfest Unlimited. Apparently, the whole print run of Everfest Unlimited got deleted, which is pretty wild to me. And if you think about it, Everfest and Everfest Unlimited were most likely printed in the same go. So Legend Story Studios did one massive print for Everfest Unlimited. I could be wrong with that, but they did a massive printing of it. But they realized that, okay, Everfest Unlimited, not needed. We're going to dump it all. Now, there's a couple of really good things about destroying product. The biggest thing is, and I'm not a tax advisor, but tax If you have a bunch of inventory that has, in this case, spoiled, or you're destroying inventory, you can reduce your net income of your company by the loss that you incurred. So, like, let's say, for instance, that 300,000 booster box scenario. Let's say you would have had to spend $30 per box, but now you only have to spend $20 per box because you're doing 300,000 boxes. Let's say 50,000 of those boxes are just, you decide after 2 to 3 years the market doesn't need 50,000 of the boxes. 250K was the right approach for the print run. So we're going to lock in that, and then 50,000 that we have in our warehouse, we are going to destroy. Well, 50,000 times the $20 per box cost basis is like, I think that's $1 million. Is that right? No. That's 100,000. What am I doing? My math is all off. So you take the, let's say it is 100,000. Well, no, wait. 50,000 times $20. Yeah, it's $1 million. A good amount of money. So let's say it's $1 million of loss. You lost that amount. But let's say your net income for the year was $2 million. So you made $2 million, and you're going to have to pay tax on that $2 million. Well, now you have this credit of $1 million that you can offset that. So instead of spending corporate tax on $2 million, you're only spending on $1 million, because you get the $2 million net income minus the $1 million loss from the product of Everfest Unlimited you destroyed. And then after that, it's, okay, this is the remaining taxable income, which is $1 million. And again, I'm not a tax advisor or anything, but that is the whole situation that's playing out here, is that it's a really good tax write-off. Along with, if you think about it, all those extra booster boxes that you printed, the 250,000, you saved money on the initial print per box, because you economies of scale. You printed more from the printer. They give you volume discounts. Printer gives you volume discounts. The shipping costs from shipping on a slow boat to wherever you are, you only have to put it in one shipping container, and instead of doing that multiple times for subsequent printings. And then putting in the warehouses is a little bit extra expense, I'll admit, but I think that expense is very much worth it. And that can actually be written off as a tax, operating expense for holding different product in five different warehouses. So if you think about the whole end-all be-all question, I know I've ranted a lot here, is what should your print run be? How many boxes should you print of your game? And Legend Story Studios has created, in my opinion, a 3-step process to answer this question, to where they know how much to print, because what they do is overprint, they trickle in, and then after 2 to 3 years, if they see that they have overage, too much product, they will literally delete it. So they cut off the fat of the extra stuff, and what you're left with is the market print run for a 2 to 3 year time horizon, which I think is just chef's kiss, beautiful answer to this question, that I think if you look out there at all the other trading card games out there, the answers that they have are nowhere near this level of brilliance. And I think that this is so misunderstood that people haven't really connected the brain pieces to see that this is their whole situation of how they go about answering this very complex question. And it may have been that this is the answer that had to be developed over time, but it's just it's a level of brilliance. I'm really when I heard again, I'll put a link down below to Flukenbach's interview with James White. I thought it was really well done 6 months ago, and I've been tinkering with this whole concept for a little while now, and kind of putting the puzzle pieces together in my brain. But the whole system that they have in place is just very fascinating. It's very smart. And if you think about how well it answers the question, it does, because if you have people trying to buy out your product initially, right, and you just have people in the market who are big investors and they just buy out big swaths, you can trickle more in because you printed a lot of it. And LSS has already admitted, hey, we print a lot for our products, and then if we need to delete it, we do. If we don't, we don't. So it's very fascinating and very brilliant on their end. And I don't mean to, brown nose the whole video, but I would love to hear in the comment sections what you guys think and to hear what your opinions are in the situation. And just to recap what it is, the answer to how many booster boxes should we print, Legend Story Studios has solved this in my opinion, and their answer is you overprint based off of market projections based on the data you have for organized play, and you be a little bit optimistic for what your market's going to be. You print very high, and then which increases economies of scale, and your price per box decreases substantially and makes you a lot more profitable as a company. And then afterwards, you have the boxes. The second phase is you have the boxes in your warehouses. On release, you put out 25 to 40% of the product initially on the first wave, and then after that you stop, and then every quarter you slowly give distro more and more products slowly over time, right? And then after that, the third step is you wait 2 to 3 years. You see how much you have in your distribution or in your warehouses personally. For LSS, they have the 5 warehouses throughout the world at the time 6 months ago, and they say, hey, how much inventory do we have? What is the market looking like for the EV of the product and whatever have you? How much should we cull at this time? And they delete a certain percentage that they have at that time and take it as a tax write-off most likely, and are able to maintain product integrity. So that's the whole video. Again, let me know what you think. Again, very not really talked about topic. I think it's just pure brilliance on how that question is answered. So cheers. Have a good one, guys.